We've had some stellar weekends of late, of course, the Betfred Derby weekend, the Betfred Guineas weekend, of course, and at Royal Ascot, and we've got another absolute belter because the Eclipse today, this weekend, could be a race for the ages. Only six are declared, but boy, genuine Group 1 contender. It's a brilliant contest of a star-studded card at Sandown. Frankie and Jason have joined me as always. We'll get on to the racing shortly, but Frankie, you're at Shores Afar this weekend. Tell us more.
Yeah, off on my holidays, Matt, or somewhat of a holiday. I'm in Siena for the Palio, which for a couple of years I've been told is a bucket list thing to do. And the only thing I can say is you have to come and see it to experience it. So 3 laps of pretty much a square, tighter than Chester, basically right angles, bareback riding, but the entire city for a week follows this race. It's mental. I got camped out there yesterday at 4:00. You have to do a fair bit of hanging around to the race at 7:30, but there's 1,000 people packed into the square. They race around the outside of you, and yeah, it was like nothing I've ever seen before. And Andrea Azzini's brother rode the winner. He's one of the top palio jockeys. Titio, I think his nickname is, Giorgio Azzeni. So good to see him winning, and good fun. I'd recommend it for a racing fan.
There we are then, brilliant stuff. Do you ever fancy that, Jace? Fancy a trip over to Italy and riding the
I've seen them skip around there. Dettori has told me about that, and I mean, literally hightailing it round this square. Horses, unbelievable. I think that they sometimes years ago they didn't used to have the padding on the outsides, but Frankie will be able to tell us. I think they have some sort of padding now that they've eased it a little bit, but still helter skelter.
Yeah, there is one. Yeah, there's not quite as much of that out here, but there's certainly the passion for it anyway.
And Jace, you were at Yarmouth this week, a little bit more closer to home, but is it a special occasion? Is obviously Tomo winding down his commentary career?
Yeah, he's only got 3 more left. Yesterday or day before, whenever it was, he was at Yarmouth and he was in fantastic form. Went up and had a quick chat with him in the commentary box. And we all know what he's like. He's been a superstar down the years for racing, hasn't he? His enthusiasm, he loves it, and he's put in a wonderful shift, a real grafter. Lots of people at Yarmouth, they love him. They absolutely love him. So he was out there signing a few bits and pieces yesterday. We had a famous "It's a Photo" in the last when it won by 3 parts of a length, and I'm sure he was playing to the crowd. He got them all going. It was fantastic. I don't think who was it? The judge. I don't think the judge was playing ball, really, because no sooner had he said, "That's a photo," it came out on the tannoy 3 seconds later. First number 12. And I thought, oh, go on, let him have a minute. It was great fun.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll have plenty more photos still to come. He's got a couple more shifts left, but we wish Tomo all the very best. Right, let's go stuck into the action then at Sandown this weekend. It is the Eclipse card. It's a real good build-up as well. We'll start with the charge, as it sounds like, over the flying 5 furlongs. I'll start with Frankie because they'll probably go as quick in this as they do in the Palio.
Yeah, I was saying it is a charge around the streets of Siena. But this, I always enjoy watching this. It's a good little race. And Kurdos for me, or he's been a bit of a horse we've both followed, haven't we, Matt? He always runs his race. And you need these sort of horses to pop up in a race like this where he can dance in the Group 1s. He's 4th in the King Charles III. More than good enough for me to see him run a big race in this, but a Group 2 and a Group 3 is more realistic for him to get his nose in front, and I think he will. I know he hasn't won for a while, and his form isn't screaming that he's in the best of form. But he was only 2 lengths behind American Affair at Ascot. Prior to that, he was poor at York, but he's ran poor at York a couple of times, and it is a bit of a unique track in that way. You either are a York horse or you're not. And then before that, beating on soft ground. You start digging through the form. He pops up in Group 1s. He pops up in Group 2s. I think he can win this.
Yeah, and the draw was against him at Ascot. There's one. Christophe Soumillon booked as an eye-catching one. Jason, do you agree?
I mean, I've gone round and round in here. You lean towards Queen All-Star. She bolted up, didn't she, in a handicap? She was actually Jack Shannon's first winner here at Sandown, but she's got a big jump to step up to this level. Westacre, never really in it, was he, when he ran last time? And a few of these rear pose after shooting high up in Group 1 company. I thought She's Quality ran really well at Haydock. My worry is she's a little bit of a short runner, loads of natural pace, but she went and committed. The filly who beat her, Magira, you remember she was a non-runner at Ascot. She pulled that front shoe off, didn't go, probably would have been bang there in the shake-up off the form she was in. I think that's the best bit of form, and I'm hoping stall number 4, remember, they're in the centre, so they're over on the far side, low numbers up against the fence. West Acres going to be out in the car park in 10. I'm hoping they get a bit of a lead with her tomorrow. I think she's the answer.
Yeah, it's always worth bearing in mind. It's kind of a little bit of a bias at Sandown on the sprint course at inside or lower numbers do tend to have the advantage. We move on to the handicap at 225, 13 set to go. I'll start with you, Jason. Anything at a price that stands out?
Yeah, managed to dig one out at a price here because you go down through them and it's going to be obvious. Treasure Time is likely to be well punted. William Haggis, didn't he win this with Mojito not that long ago? And then everybody gets excited and you go, all right, they're going to be over for the Golden Mile at Glorious Goodwood. It's that sort of race, isn't it? We're now getting into that era where they'll be going here and straight on to the Glorious Goodwood meeting. What happened to Galiron? Now, his return effort after he came back from Australia at Doncaster was excellent. Really, really good run. He then got caught on a wing at Newmarket over 9 furlongs, made a massive move from the back of the pack to the front in the hottest part of the race, fell in a hole, and I'm going to forgive him his run at Ascot. He was sort of up the middle, never really happened. You bump into My Cloud, who we know is going to be up in group company. I'm just looking at the prices. Colin Keane booked, good draw on the round course over the mile. Why won't he run well? I think he's been massively overlooked.
And the another eye-catching jockey booking Colin Keane's name next to Charlie Hills as well, Frankie.
8th of 17 in his group as well at Ascot, so his form does read better than the 20th or whatever. He might have finished down the field. Not a bad shout, Jace, right down the bottom of the market. Arisag, I was a bit disappointed with at the Royal meeting, whether that's because she's just not good enough or it didn't happen for her on the day. But I know that Charlie Johnston was quite excited about her running in the Royal meeting after she came second in one of the trial races. So it might give her another chance, but it's got to be classic, hasn't it, boys? It's got to be. Just one more roll of the dice.
One more chance. You're cheating over that cliff.
Yeah, I thought he should have won last time, to be honest. Never would you say that Ryan Moore got it wrong, but I was willing him home and he just couldn't quite get the job done. So Sean Levy takes over and I will roll the dice again. At an each way price, he cannot be out the frame, surely.
Famous last words. Right, we'll move on to the Distaff. I need to find the winner of this. I've already had a bet in this and it wasn't declared, so I'm already behind on the Distaff. 9 decent fillies go to post here, though, Jace.
Yeah, look, Blue Bolt is going to take the lion's share of the market. Come an awful long way in a short space of time. Carried the penalty, won easily, went for home, got closed in late on under hands and heels riding. But I don't know, not for me. I thought that Cajole ran a massive race in the Sandringham. I believe that's where, as punters, you're always angry saying, what on earth was the jockey doing one side to the other? I think it was orders. They made a decision. They said, look, go with the main pack down towards the centre. That's exactly what Cajole's rider did. And then sure enough, it was down in the numbers right on the far side where all the action was. And she went all the way back across to get competitive again. Has got to take a step forward. Persuasive, the dam of Cajole, won the Atalanta here at Sandown. It's a family that John Gosden knows particularly well. So she went rapidly through the ranks very, very quickly up into group and listed company. And I think Cajole is going the same way.
Interesting then. Cajole for Jason. Yeah, Ryan Moore on board for the Gosdens. Frankie?
I'm going to keep the faith with Bermuda Longtail. I'd say with the Jub Malt silks of Blue Bolt and the success and the freshness, I suppose, of Colin Keane riding winners at Royal Ascot, people will be fast to assume that will be Andrew's number one. But Bermuda Longtail, they were excited about her chances when she was going to Epsom. It didn't work out. But before that, she was very progressive from Kempton to York and currently she's highest rated in the field. And I know they think a lot of her. So I'd take my chance on her out of the field, not just the 200 bowling runners.
There you go then. Yeah, Bermuda Longtail then. At the top then for Frankie in the Distaff. Right, let's have a look then at the big one. Looking forward to this. It is, of course, the Eclipse. Over 10 furlongs. 6 of them set to go to post. And I thought the interesting thing, Jason, for me, was the booking of Christophe Soumillon for Camille Pizarro and Ryan gonna ride Delacroix. Many expected to be the other way around.
Well, I mean, Camille Pissarro, we saw the way he had the run round over at Chantilly, didn't we? Always down on the paint. They were trying to say that was the worst place to be, if you like, but it ended up being a dream run round, didn't it? And he got the gap and he got through. Delacroix was, Aidan has said he was put on the floor at the top of the hill, got sandwiched, was never involved. He's the likely pace angle, isn't he? This is the thing, we talk about a game of chess going around here. Camille Pissarro is going to be held up. Delacroix can go forward. Hot as hell, ran well behind Field of Gold. Ombudsman looked really good. Remember when he got beat by Almacam here? William Buick stayed loyal to military order. So Ombudsman, although he was unbeaten going into that return run, he was sort of overlooked by the number one rider, wasn't he? And William Buick stayed loyal. So I think that he may well have caught them a little bit unawares. 22 seconds or something ridiculous they went early on when he was at the back of the pack at Ascot, and it set up beautifully for him all the way down the bottom. Now, I put him up as the horse to follow this year, didn't I? Ruling Court. He moved like a bit of a crab when we saw him at Ascot. He's notably got bad feet. That's the thing with him. So I'll be able to see what he's like going down to post, whether there's any fluency there whatsoever. I don't think it was clear-cut and straightforward for William Buick. He said at the start of the year, 1.25 miles is ideal. The fact he backs up so quick after a run in the St. James's Palace is a bit of a pointer to him right down the bottom. He just hits the sweet spot for me between that speed and stamina. I'm not underestimating Sosi. 12 furlongs, 10.5, 9 furlongs, 3 Group 1s. He's going to be tough, but Ruling Court down the bottom.
It's an absolutely brilliant race, Frank. I know we had 11 entries in the week. The stories everywhere. We've still got a fantastic 5 of them Group 1 winners already. Delacroix, the only one that isn't, but of course he went off favourite for the Betfred Derby. Jason's with Ruling Court, which is an interesting one in itself. Asheen Murphy on. William Buick choosing Jonathan Thady Gosden's runner. I mean, there's just stories and links and puzzles everywhere, despite just the 6 runners.
Yeah, it's so good. I love a field like this when actually it's a bit more condensed because, as we all will, until the race runs, you go round and round in circles, don't you? Finding different angles for all of them because they all have their chances. Ombudsman's fresh in the mind and very, very impressive. But as Jay said, the race did set up perfectly for him and maybe he looked a little bit flashier than he was. And he's got a serious field to take on to be an even money favourite. Always hard to judge the French runners. I know that Sozi's probably the one they're most excited about when comparing sort of where he was sat against various Royal Ascot runners they had through the week. Lazat did end up paying off in the end. Delacroix is fascinating for me. How good would he have needed to be? Do they still think he's better than Lambourne? I know this is a completely different race to both the derbies, but where does he stack up? It's a tricky one. I thought Ruling Court was fascinating as well. I would call him more fascinating than my bet, to be honest. But I do think he is too big of a price. I wouldn't have expected to have him where he is down the bottom of the market, considering the Betfred 2000 Guineas was a strong race and he did it. He won well, and the form has backed up since, as we know. Annoyingly, I'll probably be with Delacroix. I can't get away from the pre-race chatter for the Betfred Derby, and he has won over 10 furlongs very impressively. And the question for the Derby was, would he stay? Well, 10 furlongs will suit him, and the choice of Ryan Moore.
I think that's intriguing. I really do think it's intriguing. So everyone expecting to go. Camille Pizarro was the shortest price of the trio was entered, and he's kind of pulled it left field and gone for. He did say, Aidan, didn't he? He won't be able to get off Delacroix for the Derby. And he's not got off him as well over the French Derby winner. Brilliant. I cannot wait for it. Cracking race to look forward to tomorrow. Let's just switch north and head to Haydock. And this might be a little bit different here, Frankie, because there is a little bit of rain forecast around at Haydock for just before racing. We start with the 205. It's a 1.75 mile handicap, one of these staying handicaps. What do you like?
Rain? It's not raining in Siena, Matt.
I bet it ain't.
Ames or Ams or Ames, however you want to go with that. James Owen's horse in this was sixth at Ascot in the race that Merchant won. We talked about William Haggis and his handicap specials earlier, and I think Merchant certainly was one of them. So 5 lengths off of the winner there, off the same mark here. He's only on his, this will be his 6th race. Steps up in trip again. I think can eke out a little bit of improvement, and this is just much calmer waters. And James Owen does a brilliant job with these middle to long distance horses. Jason Hart in the saddle, super strong jock. A lot to like about him for me.
Okay, Ames, I would like to say it then in the 205. Jason, all the big yards represented here.
Yeah, you know I'm a Haggis groupie, don't you? And Valiancy went an awful long way, didn't he, to get the job done at Hamilton. He momentarily over 11 furlongs looked like he was in trouble. And then all of a sudden the turbo kicked in and he won with any amount in hand. That's an awful long way to go and break your duck, isn't it? So I just have him down as a huge improver. He's rated or been given a mark of 80. The extra 3 furlongs looks like it's going to be tailor-made perfect for him. So why won't this 410,000 yearling get the job done from a mark of 80? And I quite like the angle in, as Frankie was saying. Ames, whatever we call him, was beaten by a Haggis runner. Haggis decides to roll the dice in here for a pretty tidy pot.
Brilliant. Valency then for Jason. I'm going to stick with you and look at the Lancashire Oaks. A small field, only 4. Well, I think a lot of the talk is going to centre around a strange, because to be fair to David O'Mara, he's never shied away from the regard he holds this horse in. And boy, how impressive was she over track and trip recently.
Yeah, you remember she got beat in the John Musker. That's her only defeat so far. She came down to Yarmouth for their big meeting, the festival at the back end, and it was quick ground. They will be doing the rain dance that you were talking about earlier on. You know, she wants a bit of dig in the ground. That's the ideal way in. Wathnan have gone in and bought Scenic. Those two are up in triple digits. You couldn't have Love Talk or Nuik down the bottom for Henry de Bromhead, but they're obviously pointing in here because it's a Group 2 filly and mares. It's important. It's black type going forward. 3 of them are going to come out with that anyway and enhance their sort of future value as far as stud is concerned. It's got to be a strange, hasn't it? This is going to go round on the bridle. One of those silly sort of races. You know, there isn't much pace guaranteed. Scenic and a Stranger hold up performers. It's a bit of a silly race, isn't it, with just the 4?
It is, unfortunately. Yeah, we probably won't learn too much about her, Strange, Frank. I mean, she looks fantastic. She's a grey. She does catch the eye. She certainly caught the eye when winning here recently. And they are talking about the Arc de Triomphe for her.
Yeah, and it's definitely not silly chat after how she won last time, is it? She was so impressive. I agree, it should be a gimme. If you were to try and play devil's advocate, I mean, Scenic's best asset is how tough she is, and if for whatever reason they ended up getting in a bit of a battle or it all happened a bit too late for a Strange, then that might be your only case to take her on. But yeah, as Jay said, a steering job for Danny Tudhope.
Which is a very different case when it comes to the old Newton Cup at 3:15, a 1.5 mile handicap here, Jason. 16 set to go. We like handicaps here, don't we?
Yeah, I do. You've got some good horses in here. I mean, I just question, has Enemy, now he's a millionaire. You remember he picked up a massive chunk of money when he ran over in Riyadh. He actually had Giavolotto back in 3rd there, but he's reappearing. And is he just warming up for some bigger sights down the line? Or as Ian Williams left him in there to keep Night Breeze's weight all the way down the bottom, they booked Luke Morris for Night Breeze. So you've got to look at all the different possible angles coming in here. You've got Chillingham, who ended up getting the race, didn't he? And obviously the horse that beat him got disqualified, My Dream World. That was for the jockey using the whip too many times. But for me, it's got to be stress-free. Again, for David O'Mara, he could go really well in our previous contest. Good performance when winning here from the back of the pack. Yes, 102 demands more, but the reports were never went a yard when a 7-1 shot for a red hot contest down at the Royal Meeting. Just came back in. I think O'Mara was asked to go into the stewards. Why didn't he perform? It was ground conditions. They're also hoping for a bit of rain, but it looks like it's good up there anyway. Stress free could be the class angle again.
Yeah, could be a good day for David O'Mara then on Merseyside this weekend. Frankie, what are you going for in the Old Newton Cup?
I quite like one in this. I think it could be the bet of the weekend. Ed Bethel runs 2, and Minstrel Knight for me seriously needed his first start back at Hamilton last time. It was really progressive last year. Went from 69 up to 88. Did a fair bit of racing over 1.5 miles, mile 6. He won at Haydock on heavy, but he's ran well on good to soft. So ground's not a bother. If it rains, if it doesn't, he won't mind. He'll stay the trip. But he just came there so strongly at Hamilton last time and faded in the final stage. I know they have that steep incline, but I'd say he was off for, nearly 6 months and really would have just needed the run. I think there's a fair bit of improvement left in him. And I'd say run a big race here. Minstrel Knight.
Okie dokie. Minstrel Knight then. And before we get the best bets, is that your best bet then? Are you sticking with that?
That is, yeah. Minstrel Knight, yeah. Why not? Have a crack in the big one this weekend.
Okay. Frankie
Or
saving the best.
The big handicap.
Frankie saving the best till last. Jason, what's your strongest fancy?
I think it's got to be Cajole, hasn't it, in the Distaff? I just feel that Gosden has placed her well going along. She was probably a little bit unlucky regarding orders when she ran. So she's a single-digit runner. I'm definitely going to have a few quid each way on Galeron. I think he's the wrong price, especially with Colin Keane booked to do the steering. And he's a bit of a villain. He's been over on that quick ground in Australia. They'll have him sort of smothered up on the inside, no daylight. It'd be beautiful to watch at Sandown.
Yeah, obviously won this race last year as well, Charles. Cicero's Gift, who was ridden exactly like that. Right, brilliant weekend. It is a real good weekend of racing action. The Eclipse is a belter, as it should be for Group 1. A clash of the generations. Only 6 go to post, but it should be a brilliant race to feature at 3:35. Thanks to the boys for joining us once again. Got the July meeting to look forward to at Newmarket next week. More Group 1 action for the sprinters. Make sure you join us then. And whatever you're back in this weekend, the very best of luck.